When Casey Van Norman was 13, her parents divorced.
As a child, not having my father present, just that question of why was I not enough, you know? And so 13, 14, 15, I really wrestled with this feeling of insecurity and unworthiness.
Those feelings would only get worse. Casey became a Christian and at 15 attended a conference where she made a promise to God to save herself for marriage. A few months later, she was raped by an older man.
What I really felt in that moment was that I had kept my promise, but God had not kept his. And he had failed me. And so I just decided that if that's what he was going to do to me, then watch what I was about to do to him.
Soon, Casey was taking drugs and having sex. She also started cutting and became bulimic.
I used every Band-Aid you could think of: sex, alcohol, drugs, popularity.
After years of struggling, Casey recommitted her life to Christ and started turning her life around. She met and married Justin and had 2 children, but she hadn't learned to accept God's gift of love.
I wanted to work for him. I wanted to earn that love. As long as I could stay busy in the things of God, everybody would think that I was of God.
As much as she tried, she couldn't get rid of the feelings of insecurity and unworthiness, and soon returned to old habits.
During the day, I would live this, what looked to be this very righteous, moral life. And at night, I would be a completely different person, cutting my arm just to experience one moment of power, sticking my finger down my throat.
Justin admits he didn't know what was happening to his wife.
I was busy providing for our family, trying to earn a good living. We were teaching Sunday school and doing things of the church. I basically stopped being romantic with Casey. I stopped taking her out on dates.
But a fellow church member was ready to give Casey all the attention she wanted.
Another man began to pursue me, began to notice things that Justin didn't seem to notice anymore. And I responded.
It was the beginning of a 3-year-long affair. Eventually, Justin uncovered it while going through some phone records. Though it was hard, Justin forgave his wife.
In that moment, it all became very clear to me that I was as much at fault in letting the guard down and the boundaries down that we should have had in our marriage that we didn't.
But Casey was still overcome with guilt.
I was so disgusted with myself, and I really believed that my family and my husband would be better off without me. I popped a bottle of Xanax and a whole thing of alcohol and prayed to end it.
At that moment, a close friend happened to be out running errands.
He put it on my friend's heart to specifically and urgently get to Casey Van Norman's house. The house was not locked, and I was there. I was passed out, and I know that if I'd stayed in that way for any amount longer, my heart would have stopped. God used her as a vessel to save my life.
As she recovered physically and emotionally, Justin was there by her side. Casey says his response helped her to finally understand God's love.
I'd been a Christian all this time, and I didn't fully grasp grace. And for him to look at me and say, Casey, I don't know how to not love you. This was the Spirit of God in him offering me forgiveness and grace so that I would experience grace. And now I get to go and tell everyone this story that God is saying these words to you, which is, I don't know how to not love you.
Casey says she stopped cutting and was also freed from her struggle with bulimia. She and Justin then began restoring their marriage.
We began to weed out certain relationships, place higher boundaries in our marriage, and then communicate.
We share our hearts with one another like we've never have before. Intimacy is way stronger now than it ever was.
When you look at a marriage, it's the one thing on planet Earth that God has given us to look at and say, this is how I love my church.
Casey and Justin now work at a ranch in Texas that houses women who have been saved from sex trafficking. Casey is also a published author and a featured speaker at women's conferences. She shares her story so that others might experience the gift of God's love.
He is in control of every moment. He is the author of our life. And when you begin to experience Him on that level, everything changes. It is so empowering. It sets us free to truly live.